Think of Indian cinema, and there are so many different types of genre. There's melodrama, action, thrillers, even horror. But there does seem to be one genre that's missing: animation. There's not a lot of animation coming out from the country, but there is one lady who's changing that: Gitanjali Rao. Her Bollywood-inspired romance, Bombay Rose, has just screened at the BFI London Film Festival.
सपना तो कहीं भी देख सकते हैं, फिर समंदर क्यों?
And Gitanjali is with us now to tell us more about her animated adventure. Welcome to London. It's fantastic to have your film here. What's it like to finally, after years and years of work, to see your film be shown to an international audience?
Thank you for the lovely introduction, and that makes me feel really responsible, Gitanjali Rao, changing the idea of Indian animation. But yes, I think Bombay Rose is the kind of film which hopefully will do that. It's great to be in London because, of course, my producer Sinistan, my main producer Deborah Sate, is from London. So I have been working online across over 2 years on the film with London and France. And yes, it's a kind of homecoming for the film to be here. I've also been here about in 2006 with my short film, and never in between that. So it's in a sense it's home. There's an audience which understands Indian cinema, and I'm really excited to know how the audience is going to receive the film.
So this film is a very much huge part of your life. I mean, a lot of directors would say their movie is their baby, but you've literally conceived every single element of Bombay Rose. So could you tell us a bit more about what some of those aspects have involved?
Baby, yes, but it's taken much more than 9 months for this baby. It's taken like 6 years. But yes, the baby is finally born, and I'm going to see how it grows. It's being an animator and trying to do the kind of films that I do, struggling and being and taking up challenges has always been part of it, because you don't have soft funding in India for animation films. So it's been 6 years, and it's a labor of love in a sense that I did not give up trying to make the film in that 6 years. The toughest and the most challenging part was to be able to find the finance to make the film, not really to make the film, which of course if it is a painted frame by frame 2D animation film, it's considered a huge labor. It was still less of a labor for me than to find people who have faith in the film, who are convinced by the film, are ready to take a risk and put their money into the film. The moment I found my co-producers from France and from UK coming together, and India, is when we rolled out into making the film. That was a roller coaster ride, but that was like 24/7, Saturdays, Sundays, with a dedicated team of about 80 people, and we have the film out now.
Oh wow, because you actually did the painting of the scenes yourself, is that correct?
No, not entirely. I did paint every single frame of every shot that went into the film, but then I had to have a team which paints all the frames in between. So it is very handheld, it is very personal, but it would be impossible for an individual to make. I have made my short films where I paint all the frame myself, but it's taken me like 3 years to make one 15-minute film, as opposed to this feature film where I had a team of about 60 and a maximum of 80 animators, paint artists, everybody coming together to take this forward after I paint one film. So no, I did a lot of it myself, but I had an amazingly talented team that could take it from me and make it look like I have made the film all by myself.
So you're involved in the painting, but also obviously the story, so the writing, the directing, and the editing. So it really is all aspects of the film. How was that as a kind of process for you to do that? Before the team came on board and you were doing the elements yourself, was that quite a lonely experience, and do you think you could have got the film to its end without the support?
I love that you ask it, because it's so lonely, and I have done it in my short films all by myself. So it's not foreign to me, but it's extremely isolating, extremely lonely, and as animators we love it. It's like hibernation. But it was only 1 year that I was working alone with the fact that someone else as a team is going to help me carry it forward. The isolation stops when you can see that there's going to be a team which is going to take it forward. I love doing things alone. The challenge was to do it with a bunch of people. I'd never done it before in my life. And it was a challenge which I think I kind of overcame quite happily. I don't know if my team still loves me or not, but I think we had a great time making the film.
Superb. So what is the actual state, or how would you describe the animation industry in India? Are there studios, are there college courses that people can go to train?
It's quite a, not a very optimistic scene right now, and we've been trying to change it as individual animators. Most of the animation which happens in India is outsourced animation. We are like cheap manual labor for Oscar-winning Hollywood films, and really nearly not recognized, because you know it's like after 15 minutes of the audience having left, our names are coming into the scene. So we are supplying a lot of cheap labor to animation in the rest of the world. We are also importing a lot of foreign animation and dubbing it in Indian languages because it's cheaper and easier to make it. And it's a great business proposal. So having said that, and to understand that the country does not have soft funds for independent animation, creating your own voice or creating an Indian animation scenario has been so tough that I've been 25 years into this industry, and there's at least 10 or 15 of us who've been struggling for these 25 years to have their own voice. Superbly talented, very well equipped, but not getting that leeway. And I hope a film like Bombay Rose will kind of make it easier for us to get this Indian animation out. It's just that the talent is there, but we need like a business module-wise opening to enter the mainstream and make our own films.
Absolutely, it sounds like that the talent is there, so there are people that can do the animation. It's just actually finding the films for them to work on. And speaking of the film Bombay Rose, so it's a very classic Bollywood romance. There's certainly elements that we recognise. We've got that love story of the Hindu girl and the Muslim boy. And actually, despite the fact we sometimes are familiar with these stories, it's still very emotional. I find myself crying in this film. So how different is it to create emotion when you're doing animation as opposed to having actors on the screen? Because emotion is such a big part of Indian films. I don't think you could actually make a film without that emotional heart to it.
Again, thank you for asking me this, because I take so much labor to get the emotions out of the actors without really actually shooting the actors and doing the easy way, which the rest of the world does. You shoot the actors and you give it to the animators to animate. For me, if something is not told with the emotion, it ceases to be an Indian film. So yes, I understand its emotion. Sometimes it's like decrepit, you know, that emotion, but sometimes it's very elevating, because I myself find myself crying on Bollywood films, and I never do that in French films or European films ever. It's a mind. So for me, it was how to bring the mind and the heart together, which is, I think, far more Indian than just the graphic style of making a film. We love to make people laugh and cry. I'm not such a subscriber of this, but I felt I need to see the beauty of Bollywood without simply criticizing it all my life, which is like so nonsense. So for me, the beauty was right before it was Bollywood, like 1950s, 60s. Now, the fact that I can cry on a film, and it was challenging, but for me, emotion is very, very universal. I know if there's a Spanish person watching a movie, a British person, a French person, an African person, the emotion is going to be the universal thing which brings it all together. That was the most challenging part, and at that I feel, if you say you cried in the film, for me, that is really the reward of having made the film, because in animation, it's very rare that people would cry in the story. So yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome. It was definitely an emotional moment for me. Just to kind of wrap up, I wondered if you could just tell us a little bit about your interpretation of Bombay, because Bombay is a city that so many people have an affinity with, and they have their own version. So just describe your Bombay.
For me, Bombay was, I'm born and brought up in Bombay. I'm 2 generations a migrant in the city. I grew up there, and I've never lived in any other part of India as Bombay. I've tried to, but I just keep coming back to it, because it's a place, as a woman, you can live independently, you can work, you can make your film. There's really no distinction. It's a very, very cosmopolitan city, as we used to call it long back. Of late in life, the politics in Bombay is changing, where you have a very right-wing government coming in. But for me, this film was also a way to show the young audience right now that Bombay used to be such a beautifully multicultural, welcoming migrant place, and we need to take it back to what it was. The name of the film, Bombay Rose, is also, in a way, a reaction to the fact that it was called Bombay for like 40 years of my life, and then the politics changed it and bring it back to Mumbai, wanting us to forget the fact that Bombay was essentially built by the British. And to me, this doesn't work. You cannot erase a history of a place, a civilization, who we are now, by simply changing the name of a film. So it's a politics of life was actually more beautiful and peaceful and better, like say 20 or 25 years back. And that's what I'm bringing back into the film, because I've been like 40 years in Bombay. I see where the split has happened, and it can go back to being it's absolutely beautiful.
There is a lovely nostalgic feel to the film, and it's really, really wonderful. So we wish you all the best with Bombay Rose and hope it brings you every success.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure.